They bulldozed my dream home while I was burying my father. 6 months later, I wiped their entire HOA district off the state map. Legally. I'm standing graveside, saying my final goodbye. 40 meters away, the HOA president is filming the custom stone fireplace my dad and I built together being crushed into dust by a bulldozer. Diesel exhaust mixed with my grief, and in that moment, something inside me shifted. The grief turned into cold, calculated rage. She didn't just demolish a house, she declared war on a structural engineer who reads legal documents for fun, and she had no idea I was about to find the fatal flaw in her entire corrupt empire. My name is Ezra Thornfield. After cancer took my wife, I moved to the mountains of Colorado to heal. I spent 18 months building my dream home with my own 2 hands. A timber frame sanctuary with floor-to-ceiling windows to catch the sunrise. It was more than a house. It was my therapy, but this mountain paradise had a serpent, Cordelia Blackthorne, the HOA president, a failed politician who micromanaged our neighborhood like her own personal kingdom, with her wannabe cop cousin Rex as her enforcer. Her first attack was a certified letter. My crime? Planting native Colorado wildflowers instead of water-guzzling bluegrass. She called them weeds and fined me $500. I went to the hearing armed with facts, how native plants save water and support the ecosystem. Cordelia didn't even look up from her iPad. Rules are rules, she said, and doubled the fine. This was never about wildflowers. It was about power, and I was her next project. The violations became a flood. My organic tomato garden was an unsightly agricultural appearance. My solar panels created an industrial look. My rainwater collection system was a public health hazard. The fines piled up into the thousands. Rex and his golf cart became my 6 a.m. alarm clock, measuring my doormat placement with a ruler and photographing my truck, claiming it was parked at the wrong angle. But Cordelia made a classic bully's mistake. Instead of breaking me, she gave me a problem to solve. And engineers love solving problems. I spent my nights in the county clerk's office, digging through the original HOA covenants, and buried in the fine print, I found the ammunition I needed. The original documents allowed for seasonal, decorative plants. As far as I was concerned, my tomatoes fit the bill. The rules about solar panels had been passed in an illegal meeting on Christmas Eve morning with only 3 people voting. I fought back with facts, with expert witnesses, with the law, and with every battle I won, her attacks became more unhinged. She was losing control. That's when I stumbled upon the real secret, the weak point in her entire foundation. While researching property lines, I found a discrepancy, a massive one. The original 1987 subdivision map was crystal clear, and my property, along with 23 others, was never legally part of the HOA to begin with. For 30 years, they had been running a fraudulent government, collecting illegal fees and terrorizing families who were never under their jurisdiction. She thought she was a queen. In reality, she was just a con artist. She must have sensed I was closing in. Her final move wasn't just cruel, it was monstrous. She knew my father's funeral was on a Thursday morning. Rex's surveillance had made sure of that. Citing a fake emergency powers clause, she hired a demolition crew. The call came while I stood graveside. My daughter, screaming into the phone. "Dad, there are bulldozers at your house." I left my father's burial and drove like hell. I arrived to find my neighbors, a Vietnam vet and 3 former Marines, using their pickup trucks as a human shield, blocking the bulldozer from my home. The contractor had no valid permits, no engineering reports, no legal authority. The only thing he had was a $23,000 personal check from Cordelia Blackthorne. She tried to claim it was a mistake, but bank records don't lie. And I had the receipts. The story exploded. HOA attempts home demolition. During owner's father's funeral became the headline. She had finally overplayed her hand. Now it was my turn. This was no longer a dispute. It was a war. I hired the best property rights attorney in the state. We formed a coalition with the 23 other families who had been illegally governed for decades. This was not a lawsuit. It was a demolition plan. We filed a class action lawsuit for fraud, harassment, and operating an illegal government. We presented a mountain of evidence, the forged documents from the 90s, the financial records proving embezzlement, Rex's signed confession detailing the stalking and intimidation campaigns. The final showdown was a public county commissioners meeting. It was packed. News crews lined the walls. Our lawyer laid out the 30-year fraud, piece by piece, the illegal boundary expansion, the forged signatures, the hundreds of thousands in stolen fees. When they read Rex's confession aloud, admitting he was ordered to vandalize property and photograph children, the room erupted. Cordelia, who had been arrested trying to flee the state, made one last desperate appearance. Her high-priced lawyer took one look at our evidence during the lunch recess and quit on the spot. The commissioners voted unanimously. The Pine Ridge Estates HOA was immediately and permanently dissolved. Every fine was void. Every rule was erased. As they led Cordelia away in handcuffs to face federal fraud charges, the room gave a 3-minute standing ovation. 30 years of tyranny, wiped off the map in a single afternoon. 6 months later, Pine Ridge is the mountain community I always dreamed of. With the HOA gone, property values skyrocketed. The $1.2 million we recovered in damages went to things we actually wanted: a new playground, better hiking trails, and a community tool library. Cordelia's real estate empire was dismantled to pay back the families she terrorized. She got 18 months in federal prison. Our neighborhood now runs on cooperation, not control. We have potlucks, not violation notices. We look out for each other. My wildflower garden is now a local landmark, a symbol that freedom grows naturally when you remove the weeds of tyranny. Bullies count on your silence. They count on you being too afraid or too tired to fight back. But as Cordelia Blackthorne learned the hard way, you should never, ever pick a fight with an engineer who knows how to read the blueprints.